Hey everyone, welcome to Handing the Shame Back, a channel dedicated to supporting survivors of child sexual abuse across the world. My name's Gloria Masters and I'm your host. We're going into part 2 now with the fabulous Lorward Choi, and he is talking to us about his experience when he went away to college at the age of 17 as part of the tennis team, and the experience he had with an older grad who groomed and manipulated him. We're now at the phase where we're looking at what Lorward did next. And that could be a whole other book, couldn't it? So welcome back, Lorward. And just looking at you and where things kind of went from once you ran away from him. What happened after that? What sort of led you to start your own healing and recovery?
Yeah. Thank you so much again. I think as soon as I ran away, I had a very similar response to the first and second times, where I feel so much disgust. I feel a lot of hatred towards myself. I just could not face myself for the longest time. And I just went home or went back to my dorm room. I laid there and I just cried. I just cried like silent tears. I just remember laying on my pillow on my side and just tears rolling down my face because I just didn't know how to process what I was going through. Um, and I remember the next day I had agreed to play with a teammate, and we're warming up. It's not a big deal. It's a ball. And I missed a ball and I went absolutely ballistic. I was screaming at myself. I was like, what is wrong with you? You're such an idiot. And mind you, like I'm screaming at the top of my lungs over a warm up. And my friend is just like, what is going on with him? And I'm like, it's fine. It's fine. Like I didn't get a lot of sleep. I'm just missing balls I shouldn't miss. And we back up and we're playing some more and I miss another ball. And I lose it and I literally take my racket and I throw it across the tennis court. It hits the other fence and I'm just screaming and screaming and screaming. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? You're such an idiot. Like, you're so stupid. And my friend's like, well, like, let's take a break. Let's sit. Like, what is going on right now? Um, and I'm just remember sitting on that bench and he's like, what is going on? And I was like, in my head, I was like, I know exactly what's going on, but I don't know if I can tell you. I just don't. And I was just like, I'm just going to throw him some lines. And I'm like, oh, like, I'm stressed about school. I'm stressed about paying for school. I'm stressed about the match that's coming up. I'm stressed about not getting enough sleep. I miss my family, all the pither and all the pather, but none of the substance. And I decided then that I was like, you know what? I might just take this with me to the grave. I think that just might be what it is.
Mm.
Um, and then my fourth year of university rolls around. And the exact first day, I remember I thought to myself, I am the same age as Ray when he did those things to me. And it would kill me. It would literally kill me if I ever did that to anyone else. And so I thought to myself, I need to see someone. I have to tell at least someone, because up until this point, I had not told anybody. I haven't even written it in my journal, which is where I keep most of my most private thoughts. Um, and so the second semester in the spring, a new school counselor comes in. I set up an appointment. I say, you know what? We're just going to go for it. We're just going to set the appointment. We're going to do a future commit to ourselves. And the therapist asks me, oh, sends me an email. What do you want to talk about? And I say, oh, I just have some things I want to get off my chest. And bless this counselor's heart. It's their first couple of weeks at the school, and this guy comes in, and I sit down and says, "Oh, hi, nice to meet you. I'm Mr. Davis." And I say, "Oh, hi, nice to meet you. I'm Lorward." He's like, "So, where'd you want to come in today?" And I have a moment where I think to myself, I shouldn't say it. This is not the place. And something comes over me where I say, no, I have to say this. I have to say this right now, at least to one person. And it just pours out of me. It like I tell him everything. I tell him, this is how I met this person. This is what they did to me. This is how I feel. And these are the problems I'm struggling with. I haven't slept well since my freshman year of college ever since these things happened to me. I don't know where I am. I have so many questions about everything going on in my life. And he just sits there and he listens and he listens. And I finish telling him everything. And I think to myself, I've made a terrible mistake. I should not have said anything. And he finally speaks up and he goes, "We're really proud of you for coming here today and telling me. And what you did was very brave." And I could feel, sometimes you let your shoulders drop and your shoulders drop on your outside of your body. I felt my shoulders drop inside of my body. I felt just the relaxing of all that tension that was inside me that I didn't know about. And I was like, oh my gosh, I said it. I finally told someone. And it was such a weight off my shoulders. And that same day, after I meet with the school counselor, I go over to a friend's house, really, really great friends of mine, a couple of the people hanging out at a house, and we're just catching up. And they say, "Hey, how did your day go? What you been up to?" Um, it's just like a group of guys that I'm really good friends with. And I go, "Oh, I spoke to the school counselor today." And they go, "Oh, okay, like what about?" And we would have this code word in college where we would say laundry room talks. And laundry room talks basically meant, guys, shove yourselves into the laundry room, close the door, shut the lights. What stays in this room happens in this room and never leaves. And this is where you get to be your most vulnerable self. And so we would go in there and be like, "Hey, what's going on with you and your girlfriend?" And guys would just open up and be like, "Oh, I feel like a terrible boyfriend. Like, I feel like I'm not doing enough. I'm not sure if I'm in the right relationship." Or we'd say, "Hey, like, I saw you crying earlier. What was that about?" And guys would say, "Oh, my grandma just died. And I didn't know how to process it. And I didn't know if I could tell anyone." Or we would say, "Hey, are you mad at this person?" But laundry rooms were where a lot of our conversations would happen. And so I told them laundry room, and they were like, "Absolutely." And so it's me, three other guys. We just jolt upstairs. Wasn't a laundry room, but it's the same idea. Um, and I think to myself, maybe I shouldn't tell it. Maybe I shouldn't say anything. And I tell myself, you know what, if we're on a high right now, we gotta keep the momentum going. And I say, "Hey, you guys remember Ray?" Like, "Yeah, we remember Ray." And I told them, my first year at university, Ray did these things to me. And that was what I was telling the counselor about. And I'm terrified. I say it and I'm just like instant regret in my body. I'm like, I shouldn't have said anything. Like, I was on a high and I acted out of momentum and impulse. And I was like, I shouldn't have said anything. And my friend chimes up and he's like, "Thank you for telling us, Lorward. Like, that must have been hard for you." And I can feel my body just drop inside me where I'm like, "Oh, it's
Wow.
okay." And they go, "Yeah, Ray was kind of weird. Like, he had said these things to me." And I was like, "What? He said that to you?" And they're like, "Yeah, and then they were just like, "Yeah," like they were just so supportive and encouraging. And they're like, "Yeah, you know what? Ray is no longer anyone we want to associate with. We don't want to even want to be around him. Like, we got your back. Like, you got," they were like, "You're so brave for just like saying that and standing up. And we didn't know that you were going through this entire time." And um, yeah, just the there's a different like kind of feeling that comes when it is the people that you were most scared to tell. Because truth be told, I was scared to tell the guys I was really good friends with, because I was like, I don't want you to think of me differently.
Yeah.
But just to see how well they responded and how supportive and encouraging they were just really lifted my spirits in a way that I just simply cannot describe.
That's wow, look at you go. I'm so proud of you. It's such a big deal. And our survivor audience, beautiful ones watching, welcome back. You know, just have Lord sitting here talking about this. We do, don't we? We can have that instant self-regret. I wish I'd never spoken. And then very quickly followed by, thank God I did. But how wonderful you had that level of support. And isn't it interesting how, interestingly, our first response is always the one that's harder on us? Can you relate?
Ah, just getting over that hump of I just have to tell one person
Yeah,
was huge. It took me a whole half of a semester, or a
yeah,
whole semester, to get over that.
yeah.
Um, it's an immense challenge, and I don't want to take away at all how difficult that is.
No. And when you know it's your time, Lord, you won't have a choice, will you? Would you say that to our survivors? So I guess we're looking at that really helped you. I guess what other kind of healing modalities or other things did you do that you feel helped you in the recovery and healing of all of this?
Yeah, I am a journaler at heart. I have been journaling since I've probably been 13 or 14. And I remember very specifically, I have an entry in my journal where I apologize to myself. And I say, hey, I'm sorry that I haven't been honest with you.
Oh,
And I'm sorry that I haven't told you the truth, where I should have kept my deepest secrets. And I wrote out in painful detail what I went through.
wow.
And I continue to write. And I would encourage everybody, because if you feel like you can't tell anybody, you can tell yourself. At least you have yourself.
It's
And
amazing.
it is something special to read that journal entry uh, now, almost 10 years later, and to be in a completely different space. And it just gives you so much hope to know the space that I once was, the place that I thought I would be stuck at forever, the thing that I thought I would never overcome or never get control of or never move from. I have done all those things.
You have. That's
And
so beautiful. You just radiate that, actually. It's
well,
so beautiful. And, you know, it's available to you guys out there as well. That ability to loving it. Journal to yourself. You can be honest with yourself. And, you know, just the healing and the weight that gets shifted, Lord, from speaking and journaling. Yeah. You know, you and I talked off here a little bit about that concept of not giving up on yourself. And I guess I'm wondering, when I think of not giving up on yourself, it's things like lack of self-care or pushing myself too hard and not having a proper lunch break, or agreeing to things I really don't want to do, or you know, other people coming first. Those are some examples. I guess I'm interested, if I said to you, not giving up on yourself, Lord, what are some ways you've kind of found that actually you had, and how have you been able to overcome them and move forward?
yeah, if you ask anybody I went to school with, any of my close friends, and they told you how much did Lorward work, they would tell you he worked an insane amount.
Yeah.
I would be up at 5 for workouts. I'd be in class all day. Then I would go to my on-campus job. Then I would go to practice, and then I would go to my meetings, and I'd probably get in bed by 1 a.m.
Wow.
And I've heard this joke from my friends, which is slightly depressing, but funny nevertheless. They said, if Lorward can get through school and do all the things that he was doing, I can get through school just doing school. um, and I just
So
wished
working
so
too
much
hard
because I
was
didn't
one
want to think.
way. Yeah. Yeah.
I just didn't want to think. And so after I had that counseling session, I thought to myself, I want to take care of myself. I want to show care to the people that are around me. Um, and it just came in the ways of taking things slow for a change. Uh, One of the things that I would do is I would just walk to campus, and it'd be about 15, 20-minute walk. And I wouldn't even put headphones in. I would just listen, and I would just hear the wind rustling or cars driving by, and just sipping my tea. And I would just walk, and I would look around things, and I'd say, isn't it so nice that I have 15, 20 minutes of peace for how busy my day gets? And I would love those moments. I would love them. And even when I would walk back, I would put my phone away. I wouldn't do anything, and I would just look. I'd say, I've seen that rock a million times probably by now. But man, it's a great walk. And just being
Mhm.
mindful of the experience that I was having helped me so much. Um, and one thing through college that I had always wanted to do was open up my home to others. College and university is so difficult. Students are very stressed out. Sometimes they just need a space where someone says, have a beer, here's some food, relax, tell me about your problems. And I always wanted to do that. And finally, my senior year, I had time because I stepped away from all those things. And oh man, like this week's been really tough for me. Um, I haven't been doing too great at these things. And I'd ask them like, hey, what's your favorite kind of drink? And they'd say, oh, like I really love, this kind of tea. And I'd say, what's your favorite movie? And he'd say, oh, it's this movie. And I'd say, come over like on Thursday and let's just drink tea, eat chips, and just relax for a change. And I have students and friends that will still tell me to this day, they're like, those are some of my fondest memories. Because just
Oh,
for a, for a split moment in my life, I could step away from everything. And the only thing that mattered was being here, watching this movie, and hanging out with my friend. And I just love that so much.
it's so beautiful. And I love what you're saying, and I can see you light up as you say it. You really are such a gift to the world. And it's so beautiful for me and survivors watching to notice that in you, Lord, because sometimes when we give up on ourselves, we forget to nurture. And what you described earlier, if okay, is you really talked about grounding techniques. What can I see? What can I hear? What can I smell? What can I taste? What can I feel? Oh, that's the wind rustling. And it's those sorts of things that help to ground us, and for survivors, bring us back into our bodies. As you know, there's so much of what you experienced that I imagine dissociation was part of that. So isn't it interesting how organically or intuitively you were drawn to coming back into your body and not
Mhm.
being distracted by anything?
Yeah. It just, I don't know, these things almost, I don't want to say they came naturally to me, but they were just ideas
Kind
that
of
made
did.
sense to me. Yeah.
So just as we're going into the last few minutes, I guess, what advice, and I know you're gonna hate me saying I don't want to give advice, Gloria, but what you're helping other people, so get over yourself. What advice would you give to survivors watching who maybe aren't at that stage yet, where they've given up on themselves a bit because they're not looking after themselves? So what advice would you give them to help them shift through?
I would say that you don't need to change the entire system overnight. A small win day after day really adds up. I think sometimes I have this all or nothing mentality where I say, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it 100%. But when you are fighting and scrapping and struggling, 0.5%, 0.25%, 1/100th of a percent matters. And if you are able to aggregate those day after day and really hold on to those as wins, not just say, oh, it's like 0.5%, doesn't matter, but really to tell yourself, I'm really proud of myself today for just brushing my teeth. I'm going to wake up and I'm going to say thank you that I'm alive.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Those are all huge wins. And being able to stack 1 together and 2 together and 3 together, and then maybe pay someone a compliment when you're not feeling so good, are all wins. And I genuinely just, I know that I still struggle with this, where I wish I could just take those moments and say, that was a really great, beautiful moment. And I want to hold on to that. And the way that this person smiled when I told them I liked their shoes because they were red, I want to hold on to that. And this is something I tell myself often, is any negative thought that I have, anything that I think, you know what, I'm just going to give up. I tell myself, you can give up tomorrow. You can quit tomorrow, but today's too important to lose.
I really like that. My God, my goodness, you, what a gift, audience. Very grateful to have Lord here, because these are little nuggets of gold, and we're harvesting. We're harvesting Lord's nuggets of gold. But just grateful. And as we're closing out, is there anything else you would like to say that you haven't had the opportunity as yet?
I would reiterate how important it is to be honest to yourself, to say to yourself, this thing did happen to me, and this thing really hurt, and this thing was hurt.
Yeah.
Because I've been through that stage where I denied myself for so long. But in being honest with yourself and saying, this thing happened, I can look at it with honesty, will take you a far way. And it seems counterintuitive, but it is true.
I really like that, and I think it's quite a powerful phenomenon. So look, stay right there, please, Lord. But as we're closing out with the audience, I really like, Lord said many things, guys, but I guess a couple of them are this. I love that when he was journaling, he put, I'm sorry I haven't been honest with you. And I love that fact he made that the third person, because sometimes it's really hard to face into ourselves, or as he described in part 1, look in the mirror. And, I think that's quite a powerful thing to do. And the other thing he mentioned was looking at the small wins, whether it's 0.25%, 0.5%, 1%, and actually giving them the equal gratitude and heartfelt recognition that you would give to 100%. Because survivors, on those days when things feel tough, 0.25% is fantastic. Oh, there's just so much you've said, Lord. One other thing that I love too was, yes, I feel like giving up today, but I'll put that off. I'm paraphrasing. I'll put that off till tomorrow. If I feel like giving up tomorrow, yes, I can not bother tomorrow, but just for today, I'll carry on. I love that you've got a few real practical, wonderful mind hacks, and they're very great for us. So, audience, aren't we lucky, and so grateful to Lorward and to for his insights and his wisdom and his courage today. I know we're going to get some great feedback from this, and just as with every single one of you, as always, I see you, I stand beside you, and I believe you.